Welcome back, everyone. In this video, we're going to create an AI agent using LangChain and LangGraph. Before we get started, I just want to answer a quick question. What is an agent? Just so we can have a clear definition in mind, an AI agent is a system or program that can use a AI model to be the brain of the application. The model is going to be the one in charge of the reasoning. So if we provide the agent a task, the model is the one that is going to read the task, is going to think, is going to come up with a plan in order to solve the task. So it's not only it will not only be able to generate text, but it's going to be able to reason and also use tools that we're going to make available to the model in order to interact with its environment. So if we have, let's say, GPT-4, and then you have different tools that is going to allow the agent to maybe search the web, retrieve documents, generate images. Those are all tools that we provide to the agent. And the brain is basically the model, and the arms and legs in order to get the task done are the different tools that we're going to have. Now, before we get started, you need to have Python installed in your system. I'm going to be using Visual Studio Code. You can use any IDE that you prefer. And the links to these free resources, Python and VS Code, I'm going to drop it in the video description if you need them. So before we get started here, let's go into our desktop or somewhere. Let's create a new folder here. Let's call this folder AI agent. And we're going to open that folder up with VS Code. There we go. Let me bring that over here. All right, so before we continue here, if you're using VS Code, make sure you have the Python extension here. So I'm going to search for this here. And the Python extension is right here. So Python by Microsoft, make sure you install this. So I like to use this just to make it easy for everyone to be able to follow along. So once you install this here, we can go back to the file explorer here. Let's create a new file, requirements.py. And now I'm going to bring in the dependencies that we're going to need for the project, and I'm going to paste them here. You can pause the video, or you can find the link to the code in the video description as well. So we're going to use .env to handle our API keys, Streamlit to build the UI for the application, LangGraph and LangChain community in order to basically build our agent, DuckDuckGoSearch to provide a search tool for the model. LangChain OpenAI is going to be the provider that I'm going to be using. You can use any provider that you want. I'm going to show you the different providers that you have available, and the installation will be basically the same. Markdownify here is going to be something we're going to use to build a custom tool, and request as well is going to be part of the custom tool we're going to build. So about the provider that we have here. So if you want to use a different provider, you can go into this link. I'm going to drop all these links in the video description as well. The providers that are available through LangChain, you have OpenAI. You can see this is the same name. I pasted in the requirements, so I'm going to be installing OpenAI. If you want to follow along with a different provider, you can. If you want to keep it free, you can go to Groq here, and instead of typing OpenAI here, just type Groq in order to install the Groq provider here. And then you can get your OpenAI, your key, and you can follow the same way that I'm going to create the agent here. So we just switch in the provider. And if you want to use Anthropic, you can use this one here or any other ones that are available in this list here. You can see there are several in here. So the only thing you have to make sure, let's say if you're using Groq, you have to make sure you pick a model that is able to use tools, right? So like Llama 4, Llama 3.3, go ahead here, you can use any of these three that are available here. And you can just look at the names inside of the, let's say the playground. You can go to the playground, you can see it there. You should have the names of the different models here that you can use. And you can just copy from the code here if you want to use the one that you select from the list. So I'm going to be using OpenAI. So I'm going to keep mine to this name here. So the next thing we have to do is that we're going to make sure you save this file. And then I'm going to press Ctrl-Shift-P to bring up the palette here. And you need to search for Python create environment inside of this text box here. Once you find that, you can click create environment. We're going to select VENV to create the virtual environment here. And then you're going to choose the latest interpreter that you have here from your list. You might have one, you can have several, so I'm going to pick the latest here. So it can create a virtual environment for me here. So this might take a minute or two, depending on your computer. Let me just wait for this to finish up, and then we'll follow with the next step. If you were asked to select the requirements file, so you can do the installation for you right away, you can select it. If you didn't get that pop-up, we will take care of this in a second anyways. Cool. So it looks like it's done creating the environment here. Now let's open up a terminal. And let's see, that's good. You can hit terminal, a new terminal here to open a new terminal. I just use the keyboard shortcut to do that, but it's the same thing. So now, if you didn't get the pop-up to select the requirements file in order to install all the dependencies for you, we're going to just do it manually from the terminal in here. So we're going to type pip install -r requirements.py. Oh, you know why I didn't pick it up? Because I put the extension py, and it's not py. It's actually, let's rename that to txt in here. There we go. That's txt. And hit enter there. That's why it didn't show up for me. And probably if you follow the same, it didn't work. And I just misspelled install. Hit enter there. Let's wait for everything to be installed here. It might be faster for me because I have probably a lot of these libraries already, but it might take a little bit longer for you if you need to download every single library that we're going to need. So just give it a few minutes. For me, it was pretty quick. So I can close this file and put that away. And next, we're going to create the files that we need in order to get started. First thing we're going to need, let's create a app.py. Here's where we're going to use Streamlit to create basically the simple UI we're going to set up. And then let's create another file for the agent.py. Let's start with the agent. Let's get everything started first. Then we'll do the UI later on. So for the agent, we're going to be using, we're going to need the model. We're going to need the tools, and then we're going to have to load up everything together. So we're going to use another method as well to help us out with that. So let's set up the environment as well. So let's create a new .env file. And here you're going to add your environment variable for your provider. So for OpenAI, the OpenAI environment variable is going to start with OpenAI underscore API underscore key, and then you have to copy and paste your API key. That's going to go here, just like this. Right, I'm going to pause and copy and paste mine, and then I'm going to save and close this file. All right, so that is set up. So let's go now and import a few things inside of the agent. Let's start with .env. So we're going to say from .env. Let's import load underscore .env. We're going to call this function around here so we can load up everything up. Now, next thing we're going to need is to create our model so we can connect to OpenAI. So we're going to say from LangChain. Let's do so it's LangChain underscore OpenAI. And then we're going to import chat OpenAI. If you're using Groq, you're going to do LangChain underscore Groq, import chat Groq, I think. Let me see. Chat Groq. It should be here. You can click on your provider and see. So for OpenAI, if I go there, I have the chat models. So you have some information here about each one of them, but they follow the same naming convention, so that's really useful. All right, so now from here, using the chat OpenAI, we're going to create our model variable. So we're going to say model equals chat OpenAI, and then here we need to provide the model name. So model underscore name equals, and then in quotes, we're going to type, we're going to be using GPT-4o, make sure there's an O and not a 0, -mini. And then I'm going to set my temperature to be just 0, right? I don't want it to hallucinate or make things up. All right, so next thing we're going to bring in is going to be, let's import the DuckDuckGo search tool. So we're going to say from LangChain community .tools, we're going to import DuckDuckGo, and we want these search results in here. So this DuckDuckGo search result tool comes from the LangChain community tools. So if you want to see where you can find more, I'm going to add this link as well to the video description. So in tools here on this page, you can find all the different tools that they already have pre-built in here for you. So you have like Blink Search, you have Brave Search. For some of those, you're going to need an API key. For DuckDuckGo, we don't need one, so I picked that one so we can avoid adding any more environment variables to the project. So you can see it here. You can click on the tool here. You can read more about the tool, how to use it, and all the different parameters, and then you can look at the long list of tools that you have available here. We're also going to be creating our own custom tools, so you have an example on how to do that as well. So to initialize this, let's go down here. Let's just create a variable called search. We're going to set that equals to the DuckDuckGo search results and parentheses there. All right, cool. So let's try this out. Let's go and say search underscore results equals, and then we're going to do, before we do the search, let's try to use the model so we can see the, what are we basically what's the problem that we're solving with agents. So we can see it in a really simple example. So let's create a variable response, right? And then we're going to set that equals to model.invoke, so we can invoke the model. And then we're going to pass it a array or list. And then let's import the human message wrapper. So we're going to say from LangChain core dot messages. We're going to import human message, and I want to send a human message here. Okay, I'm missing the N here, response. So I'm going to say human message here, parentheses, and then we're going to say content equals, and then here we're going to, let's just ask some question here. I'm going to ask who is the, not the president, I want to know who is the CEO of Intel. And then I'm going to, let me save that. Let's just print the response. Response, you can just do the whole response. And let's go and let's execute the agent. So let's do Python or run the script here. Agent, and let's see what we get back. Okay. Okay, there we go, finally. So in here, we can look at the response. It says, as of the last update in October 2023, and that's kind of basically maybe around the cutoff time of GPT-4o-mini, the CEO of Intel is Pat Gelsinger, or whatever that is. So you can see this is the information we get back. And the problem with this information, if you Google this is no longer the CEO, right? So right now, this is the response that this particular model knows about, and it's providing that information here. Now, if we try to do a search from here, right? If we do, let's go and comment this out for now. We don't make too many requests. So let's do search underscore results equals, and then we're going to do a search. And then we're going to use the invoke, and then we're going to ask the same question. So who's the CEO of Intel? That's good. I'll take that. And then we're going to print the search results. Come on. Let's try this now. Let's make a quick search using DuckDuckGo. Give it a second. Okay, so let's see what information we get back here. So we have some snippet here. It says, this guy will remain the executive vice president of the financial officer. And then there's some other information here. If you keep reading, there's a title here. It says, Intel appoints this gentleman here as the Chief Executive Officer, and we can see that this is around March 12th. We can see the date here when this article was created. So this information says that someone else is the actual CEO. So what if we can provide this information to the model? So if we said this time response, but let's just use this one here. I was going to type the same thing. Let's just run this in here. And in the content here, we're going to say, who is the CEO of Intel? And then let's just append here, answer only using the following information. And the search result. Whoops, we got quotes here too. In here, and here, let's just do, that's fine. We'll keep it like this. Format this for me, thank you. All right, so we're sending a new message. Who is the CEO of Intel? So we're gonna put a space here somewhere. Answer only using the following information. Then we're gonna pass the search result that we got here. And we can comment this out so we don't get too much information in the console. Let's go ahead and run that. Let's see who the model thinks now who's the CEO, now that we're providing up-to-date information past the cutoff time of the model. Okay, so now the model says that this gentleman is the CEO of Intel based on the information that we provided. So this is just to help you visualize, a little bit of why are we doing this, like why, creating this agent that is able to search for information that is up to date is really useful in order to get good answers to our users. All right, so let's see here. Now, what we need to do is basically glue these two things up together. So we want the model to be able to reason, to be able to think and come up with a plan to complete any task that we tell the model to complete. And the model should be able to know what tools it has available, and the model then should be able to use those tools making tool calls, right? It's gonna say, hey, I want to use the search tool so I can search this information and then provide a good answer. So let's go and delete some of this information here. I'm gonna show you really quick. If we let's delete all of this. But you know what? Let's go and create a tools list here, so we can prepare the tools. So we're gonna pass search tool here, and then later you can list any amount of tools that you want here, like like some other tool, like image generation here, or any other tools that you want. So that way we can pass it to the model. So I just want to show you something quick here before. Let me just delete all of this in here, right? And we're going to, let's try to find, let's create an agent variable. Let's set that equals to to the model dot, and we're going to use the Vine tools, Vine tools here, and we're going to pass the tools that we have, right? So this expects a list of tools, so we pass in these tools here, and you can put as many tools as you want here. Now let's use this model. We call it agent because we're trying to provide some tools to the agent. And this is not the actual agent. I just want to show you something really quick. So if we say response again, and we set that equals to the agent that invoke, and then if we ask the same question, let's just ask, who is the CEO of Intel? And then again, let's print response.content. So we just see that. Let's run it one more time. Let's clear the terminal. Let's run that again. And let's see the output here. Okay, didn't give me any response here. That's because, let's just console log the whole response. Because I'm not waiting for a response. I'm waiting for what? It is a response, but not the content. I want to show you what the models are going to try to do now. So let's see. Come on, hurry up. Okay, so here, let's see. We have content empty, and that was what the model, what the previous console was showing, nothing, because we don't have any content yet. what the model is trying to do is to perform a tool call, right? So it's trying to say, hey, I need to call a tool and I want to send this query, right? It knows about this tool here, the search, and it's trying to say, hey, I want to make a query and I want to search for current CEO of Intel. And then it's saying it's 2023 because probably it thinks that's the current, but or the current year. But if we ask who's the current CEO, it might be able to do a better search. But based on the results, it's going to now know exactly the updated information. So this time it's not trying to give you back a response. It's trying to call a tool for you. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to now put an agent together that is going to be able to use these tools in order to complete your task. All right, so from the top here, let's import. We're going to be using from LangGraph. So we're going to say from LangGraph dot and then pre-build. We're going to use a pre-build agent which is able to use the React framework in order to reason and act. So that's what React means. So let's say create a React agent. Cool. So now we're going to replace this line here. And we're going to, instead of using the model directly, we're going to call the create React agent underscore React agent, and we're going to pass in the model, and we want to pass the tools. All right, so now we can invoke the model. So in order to invoke the model, we're going to let's cut this from here, and to the invoke, we're going to pass in a dictionary. We're going to set a messages colon, we're going to put the human message again, right? So he knows about the type of message. Then we're going to set content equals to the string again here. We're going to keep it there, and we're going to console log the response down here. So let's see. Now we're going to be able to see something different. So instead of just saying print response, let's go and say for message in response square brackets messages, and here let's print a bunch of these so we can see the, let's make this a f string so we can pass here. Let's do curly brackets and let's do message dot type. That's good. And then down here we're gonna actually print the message content. There you go, message.content, and let's also add a new line. So backslash and in here. So let's say if we have, because right now this is going to just do the message, and also we're gonna check if it has a attribute of if message is a tool call. So there you go. Then let me see what it did. No, that's not what I want to do. If the message is a tool call, I just want to print message dot tool call. And then let's do the same. Let's add a backslash n to show a new line. And what I'm trying to do here is that I want to grab each message, right, from the messages. So now the model is going to have not just one single message, it's going to show the reasoning, and it's going to show the different actions, the different tools that it wants to call. So we're going to be able to see the message, and then we're going to be able to see the tool call messages, see if there's any tool call in there. So we're going to invoke the model again, right? But now we're using the create React agent, and we pass in the model we want to use. That's the brain of the agent, and then the tools are the tools available to the model or to the agent. Now this is the invoke message. We want to search for the same thing or ask the model the same thing or our agent now, and then we're going to print all the information. So let's clear this here and let's run it. I know we want to run it. Let's run it. And let's see what we get so far. See if everything is good. Computer's a little slow every time I'm recording, and trying to do this is just so slow. Okay, let's see what we got. So in here, we have the human message, right, from here. And this is what we're asking, who's the CEO of Intel. So now the AI message, this is another type of message, is saying, hey, I want to see that this looks just like the other one. This is a tool call that wants to do. So it wants to call a tool saying, hey, I want to use the tool with the name DuckDuckGoSearch result underscore JSON. The arguments are going to be a query, and this is the query, current CEO of Intel 2023. And here the model is still thinking we're in 2023. So that could be something we can fix with a custom prompt or something like that. But right now we're just going by what we have available here. And then if with the search result, so this is the result from the tool. So the result of the search basically. So here you got some information. Based on that information, the AI is the model saying that the current CEO is this gentleman here. So it was able to find, even though it is probably looking at some other specific date because we were not very specific with the question, but with the search result, it was able to see the new CEO. That it says, hey, he was appointed on March 12, 2025. Right, so it was able to see and grab the updated the most up-to-date information from the web. So that's really cool, right? Because now the model, if it was the cutoff date was 2023, now is able to search, is able to find new information and provide that information to the user. So more reliable information. Now we can say that this is basically our agent, right? We have the agent created here. We can now, let's say, to improve the agent, we can add a few things. We can add more tools. We can add new components that we used before from LangChain, like memory, so it can remember the previous messages because it's not able to remember right now the conversation. So if we ask another message, it's not going to know the context from the other question and answer that it got from before. So that will be an improvement as well that we can do to the model or to the agent. So let's start by adding the memory capability to the model. So we're going to use the MemorySaver in order to add memory support to our agent. So we're going to say from, let's see, we're going to grab that from LangGraph dot checkpoint dot memory. We're going to import MemorySaver. Now we're going to create the new component, the new memory down here. We're just going to say memory equals, and then we're going to call the MemorySaver right from there. Cool. So now that we have that, we're able to just pass it over to the model here. And just so you know, sometimes so we pass the memory here, right? Now it will be able to remember. So not here, We need to pass it to checkpointer equals memory. There you go. This is how we need to pass it. So the only thing that while doing this during development, you have to be careful that, you know, if you're asking multiple questions, is remember the conversation. So we have to make sure we sometimes delete any cache information that it might be, the model could be, or the agent could be reading because it was cached from previous interactions. So sometimes this could be tricky if it's just remember everything there. But for our use case, it's going to be all right because we're going to just run the script every single time. So right now, no problem at all, just something to keep in mind. So now let's see, we have our tool in here. Good, so we got our components in here. All the tools are gonna go here. So now we could pass a configuration to the agent. So if we want the agent to basically know the conversation thread or something, yeah, like the conversation thread, like how many, you know, you can pass in a unique ID for the thread for the conversation, so we can store that in memory. So here, after the messages here, we can pass, let's just create a config dictionary here. So config equals a quick dictionary that is only going to say, we need to set it to configurable. Configurable, and then we have to just pass another dictionary here, and then here we just need to set the thread ID underscore ID, and then here we can set it, you can use UUID to add a unique ID. So for now I'm just going to use 1 2 3 ABC. Also, you can set like the recursion limit here. So there's different options that you can configure. So if you hover over this function here, it should give you the different inputs. So the config here is not listed in here, but there's different configurations that you can do for your agent here. Later on, I think in another video, we can pass a custom prompt, because right now this create React agent has a prompt, and I think I have the prompt open here too. So if I show you this here really quick, we have, where is it? We have the prompt is one of these here. So the prompt that is using, you can look into the, I'll add this link as well to the video description. So in the hub, you have all the different prompts from LangChain, and this one here is basically the one, or maybe it's the one, or the one that's very similar to this one, to tell the model how to think here. It says, answer the following questions as best as you can. You have access to the following tools. So it passed all the tools that we provide. And then it's going to say, use the following format. Here's the questions you must answer. The dot says you should always think about what to do. The action says the action to take should be one of the following. So it's going to grab the tool names from the tool list that we provide. And then the action, the observation is basically looking at the result from the tool and do a follow-up action. And then it's going to provide the final answer here. So it's going to repeat that n times. So it's going to go and repeat whatever actions you take, whatever function tools it needs to call in order to get to the final answer. So let's continue. And now down here, let's see. What do we got? So here, let's pass the config to here, the second parameter. And then what else we can do? Let's just keep it here. And now, what was this? Config, position argument, config. Wait, I think that doesn't go there. Get that out of there. We need to pass it right after this. Yeah. Okay, no complaint is there. There you go. Just make sure it's after the closing curly bracket. All right, so right now we imported the MemorySaver. We initialized the MemorySaver. We passed it to the agent with the parameter checkpointer. We provided a config, so it notes about the basically the thread that is being used, and that ID. If you have like different chats, different conversations, it can go back to, by the ID, it can go back to the previous conversation, a new conversation, etc. So let's try to run it again. Let's maybe change the query here. So let me just search for what's the current weather in Orlando or whatever you're located. Orlando file. Save it and let's run it again. See if everything is working fine. Right now we won't be able to see anything about the memory, but if we are able to ask another follow-up question later on when we really put everything together, you should be able to continue with the conversation. So right now we ask them, hey, what's the current weather in Orlando? It says, okay, the model said, okay, I think I want to use the DuckDuckGoSearch results in order to make this query, current weather in Orlando, Florida, and then it's going to provide, this is the information that was returned by the tool, by DuckDuckGo. So it's going to do the observation here. It's going to go by this information to come up with the response, which is all this here. It says the current weather in Orlando, showers, blah, 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 high temperatures, 90 degrees, Fahrenheit, blah, blah. And then this is all the links for us to visit and see more information. So cool. So everything is running fine. Now, the last thing I want to show you, which is going to help, just improve. And also I want you to see how you can create your own custom tool. So in order to do that, let's create a folder here. Let's just call it tools in here so you can create and manage to as many tools as we need. And a tool is nothing more than either a function or a class, which is going to, have some functionality to be able to do some specific tasks. It could be just a function that adds two numbers together, then another tool that can multiply. So if you build it like a calculator agent, the tools could be like separate functionalities that it can do. For us, we're going to create a quick tool, which is visit _ website.py. And I want to create this tool to enhance the search functionality of our agent, because if we ask the agent a question that needs to be kind of looked into more of the information of the page, it won't be able to see it right away. So if we ask the model, let's say, what is something that it needs to like read the information. So what is the last closing price of Bitcoin? Bitcoin, not really. Price of Apple stock of the Apple stock. Okay, we'll try this one. Let's try this one really quick. So let's see. You might be able to see it in the search result, but sometimes it needs to go into the website and read more information about the website, which is not sometimes is not returned right away by the search from DuckDuckGo. It was able to do it in here, so is enough here for the model with the search that he did. But if it's not able to find it, it needs to like go into the website, something that is maybe more complicated, that it needs to go and visit actually the website and process all the information from the website. That's the tool that we're going to create now. So if we go back here, let's go and create this really quick. So we're going to need to import from LangChain core that tools we want to import lowercase tool, right? The uppercase is the class. Let's just use the decorator tool in order to create our tool. Now we're going to also import, let's import everything we need. So let's import regex or E. Let's also import request, and let's also import from Markdownify. We're going to import Markdownify in here. You can rename it if you want, or you just keep it like this. So we're going to use the decorator to create a function that is going to be turned into a function for the agent to use. So we're going to use the add tool decorator to decorate a function here. We're going to call it visit underscore website. We're going to take in the URL. We're going to type it with str. So we know that it's a string, and it's going to return a string as well. In A2, the annotating the types for the parameters and for the return values is really important, because all that information is going to be passed to the tool that is going to be generated for the model to know everything so it's going to provide all that information so it knows how to use the tool, right? So also annotating that, and also the doc strings. So I'm going to copy these doc strings in here, so you can just pause it or go to the link and copy and paste this here. These are also really important, because these are going to basically, the description here is going to be used to pass it to the agent, so the agent and the model knows what this tool is going to do. So a good specific description here is necessary, and then you can detail the arguments. So here we're just expecting the URL, so we're saying that the URL is a URL link of the website to visit, right? But this is really important, because this is going to help the agent knows what this tool is about, and it's going to actually help perform better, because sometimes they won't be able to just pick it up by just saying, oh, this is a website tool that it will help you look into the website. So the more description, the more information, the better. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to create, first thing, we're going to send a request, right? So send request. We're going to say response equals request.get, and then we're going to pass the URL, and then we can set a timeout of like 10 or 20 here. Oops. Next thing, we want to let's say we're going to check if it was successful. So check if request was successful, and then we want to, I'm missing an S here. We want to use, we can just use response dot raise for status here, and that is going to raise a error, and we can wrap this into a try catch too. That's fine, we'll keep it like this for now. Now if everything goes okay, we're going to convert the HTML that we get from the page to Markdown. So we're going to say Markdown, let's call it Markdown content equals to Markdownify, and then we're going to pass the response.text, and then we're going to strip anything that is unnecessary here. Cool. Also, let's see, we want to kind of like clean up so we strip it here. We can also do a markdown content. We're gonna set that equals to, let's use the regex to substitute, let's do sub here to replace any let's just replace the empty lines. So we're gonna do or, and then we're gonna say find any new line or any new lines, or like if we have like 3 new lines that are empty, we're gonna replace it with nothing. We can just leave that there. So the bottom here, and then we just need to pass, yeah, we want to pass 2 new lines. Whoops. Let me double check this. All right. So substring, substitute here, or 3. Cool. So if it finds basically a lot of empty lines or 3 empty lines, we want to remove those empty lines, so we save the length of the content that we're returning here. So we don't want to get rid of the empty lines that we see here. Cool. So let's just save that. So basically this is fine here. So the implementation is here, but this is really important here too, because the agent won't understand if you don't provide a very detailed information here about the tool. It doesn't know because it's not, very descriptive information provided, so it won't be able to probably know what the tool is for. Even if we provide a name and we know what it's about, is not super straightforward to the agent. So let's import this tool back into here. So we can say from tools dot visit website import visit website or underscore website here, and we're going to pass it to our tools here, visit website, save it, and now our tools are being passed to the agent. So we have now 2 different tools, so it's able to do searches, and from those searches, if it finds some links that needs to go and visit to go and read more of the information, she'll be able to do that now with this custom tool that we created here. So let's see, let's test it out. Let's do a quick test on the tool as well. Let's just go into visit. We can actually call this, because it's decorated as a tool here. We can basically now just say visit website that invoke, and then we can pass the URL. So I'm gonna do https:// my website here. You can pass any website you want, and then we're gonna print. Let's just wrap it into a print statement here, because we don't need this information. So let's run the, let's clear this up. Let's run Python, and then tools, and then visit tool here. We're gonna do a quick search before we execute it with the agent. So we get any errors here. Come on, come on, come on. So it's taking a little bit longer, maybe again, a little slow on my side. Okay, we got an error here. So let's see what we got here. Traceback, hose, connect. So what do we got? URL, open. So, okay, there was a connection timeout. Did I pass my website correctly? Let's pass another website. Oh, you know what? I forgot to put DuckDuckGoSearch here. Let's run this again really quick. Come on. Let's just run it again. Make sure you got the protocol and the full link in here. Let's see what information we got. Come on. Okay, I got another connection for max tries. Okay. All right, let me try another link. See if I'm doing something wrong here. Let's just go to apple.com. Run that again. Yeah, don't use my website. There you go. Okay, something wrong with the website there. Cool. Maybe I type, I don't think it's a .com. I think I've got the wrong link anyway. So here is providing the information that he got. So he got it will grab the HTML, it will turn it into markdown. So now the model can read this and see all the information from the page and read the information from there. Cool. So that's working. I'm going to comment this out, go back to the agent here. And now we have the visit website tool added to the tool list. We pass it over to the agent. And now we want to, let's run the agent again here. See if it uses the tool. So let's go and say Python agent and hit enter. Probably not going to do it for this Apple stack, but maybe for another one or another question that we, it needs to like go and read the information from the website. Oh, I think it did. Let me see. Yeah, it did, because here, this is the information, this is the markdown from the pages. So let's see if we can go by section. So humor. So what's the last closing price of the Apple stack? So it says, okay, I want to do a Google search. This is the query, Apple stack, last closing price. And then you got this here, view 20-year historical stock data. Okay, so it found this link. You look at the link here for a 20-year historical data here. And then this is a snippet of information here. There's another link from investor.apple.com stock price, whatever. And it did then, it says you have some information here. Then it used our tool. It says, hey, I want to use the visit website tool. And this is the URL, this is the argument, right, that we said here, that it needed to be passed into here. And it passed the link in here. We made the GET request. We parse it from HTML to Markdown. Here says, we got an error here. It says tool error, 403 problem forbidden. So we probably was not able to read the information from there. Now it called the tool again, the visit website. It provided a different website here. And then this time it was able to parse the data. And from the data, it probably found the information that I was looking for. Around here somewhere, May 23, closing price was 195.85, and more data, and then it gave us back the final response. So the last closing price was 195.27 on May 23, 2025. Perfect. So it's using our new tool, our custom tool that we created together. And now the only thing we got left is to create a quick function here so we can build a simple UI. So now you can allow people to interact with the application or with your agent, and you can deploy it, and we can now kind of like finish up with this basic agent that we have, but very useful agent. So let's go and build a quick function here. We can actually just export this here. Well, let's create a little function here. Let's go here. Let's create a new function. Let's just call it call agent. This is going to take in a query, type string. And then we're going to, let's bring this in. Let's indent all that in. So response, we want to not just pass this question here. We want to pass the query. And once we have the query there, we got the config, that's good. Now let's go and we can keep the for loop here so we can look at what's going on. And then let's just return the response, square brackets, messages, and then we want to grab the last message here, the content. So we can just display the text to the UI. Okay, so we're gonna bring this function back inside of the app here. So we're gonna need Streamlit, so we can say import Streamlit as st, and then we're gonna say from agent import co-agent. Let's set up a st title for the UI, and let's just say AI agent. And let's have a sidebar just so we can have it there. We're not going to do anything there now, but let's do st sidebar. And in the sidebar, let's have a header, so st header. We can use that for like the settings or whatever. We can, if we want to create something else later on. And then the really important part would be to set up a input. So we're going to say if query, we're going to do st.chat input here so we can show the input. And say x mean anything. In here. So now here, this is, we don't want to manage I don't want to do all of that right now in this video. So we're just going to display the messages here. So we're going to do st.chat message. We want to show the user message, yeah. And then we want to write something to it, the query. That's good. And then with chat message system, we can do all of that, but let's just say response equals, we're gonna call the agent, co-agent, and we pass in the query, and then we want to just display the result that we get back. So chat message assistant that write response, that's fine. Response dot, wait, are we returning? Yeah, we're returning the content already, so what we have to do is response. Yeah, that's fine. This is just to interact with this in here. So I'm going to run Streamlit, run app.py, run that, and let me see where this is going to open up. My server. All right, let me just bring that over here. Put this side by side. Okay, give it a minute to load. There we go. So here, now we can say, let's just try something we already seen. Who is the CEO, the current CEO of Intel? All right, we see the chat in there. This is the user query. We can show like a loading stage. We see the console logs in here, the basically the reasoning, the tool calling, actions and everything, and then we see the response here. There's a way we can show it here, but this is fine. This is the logs for development, and then we have a simple UI here. So now we have a working AI agent that is able to do online searches, and it can actually visit different websites and consume the data from those different websites. Now, if you want to continue building this one, you can build more on the UI. If you watch my previous videos, you can store the messages in the UI inside of the session state and load everything up there. You can also go back and improve maybe the chat function, the agent functionality with more tools. You can use this as a template to initialize a new one. But here you can add any tools. Go back to the documentation let me just bring this over in here and find any other tools that you want to use, right? So you can expand the functionality of this chatbot. But basically, this is everything I wanted to show you here. You have successfully created a AI agent that is able to reason and is able to take action and search and go and visit websites and give you back recent information. So, like very recent live information too, that it can search online. So this is kind of like the basic functionality that any AI agent out there will have right now. So yeah, I hope you like this one. In the next one, I want to basically break down more about this create React agent because it's doing a lot for us. So there's a prompt in there. There is a few other things that we can talk about. Like if you notice this here, it basically returns a compile graph, and we can build our own graph. We can detail our own very nodes and our edges, our conditional statements in the graph. So that's what I want to do next. So we can fully understand what's going on here, how we can be our own, and that way we can build more custom AI agents for the future. So hope you like this video. I will see you in the next one.